From creepy clowns to haunted houses, these night shift workers will reveal the most unexplainable things they've ever seen while on the job. First, we have to look at this story from Reddit user the_red_baron. This happened when I was about 17 years old and working security at a movie theater. We had a showing of It chapter to start, and the theater was almost full. About 5 minutes into the movie, all of the lights in the back half of the theater turned off. Me and my coworker looked at each other, confused. Then the emergency lights kicked on for about 30 seconds before turning off again, and the projector came back on. The whole theater watched as the clown on screen looked around, confused too. After the theater filled back up with people, my coworker and I looked at each other and shrugged it off as a fluke or an electrical issue. Halfway through the next movie, the same thing happened, but this time the power went out for the entire theater. All of the projectors shut off, and every single light in the building went out, except the emergency lights. My coworker and I immediately ran into the hallway toward the emergency exit and stopped at the door leading to the projection room. There were 6 flickering lights coming from under that door. Each light matched the position of one of the projectors. My coworker and I looked at each other again, and I mouthed, "What do I do?" He responded by pointing to the door with a look of terror on his face. I opened the door slowly and called out, "Hello?" No response. I turned the first light off, and the one behind it flickered and then turned off. I did this until all 6 lights were off. Once the last one turned off, I closed the door and locked it. My coworker and I hightailed it out of there to call the manager, who had to come unlock the emergency exit for us. I never went back to work after that night. Not because of the power outage, but because of what my coworker told me afterward. He said that he used to hear people in the projection room all the time. He worked there for over 2 years, and that room was never used. And apparently it hadn't been used since the theater was built. Now moving on, let's look at this story from another Reddit user. I was working security at a mall, and one of the stores had a really bad case of shoplifting. So they had hired extra security for the night. I was standing right by the entrance to the store, and I heard screaming. I go running inside to see what happened, and I see this guy holding a big knife to the throat of the cashier, and she is crying. I grab the guy and tackle him to the ground. He starts stabbing at me with the knife. I can feel myself getting tired and weaker. I get him down to our security office, where I pull out my gun and shoot him 3 times. He drops the knife and collapses on the floor. I didn't think he was going to make it, but as I turn around to call it in, the guy is gone. I turn back to the security office, and there, a big hole in the wall where the window used to be. I run back to the store to find the manager and tell them what happened. But he says that he has no idea what I am talking about and that there was no robbery. As I walk back to the security office to check on the girl, I find my gun lying on the table. But there's no bullet holes in the wall, and there's no blood anywhere. I thought maybe I had imagined the whole thing until I checked the surveillance footage, which showed everything happening exactly how I described. To this day, I still don't know what happened. Finally, we have to look at this story from Reddit user Mrs. McMuffin. When I was 19, I was working as a baker at a hotel. I would often stay late, finishing work or preparing for the next morning's breakfast rush. One night, I was the only one left in the kitchen, and I heard some commotion outside, near the loading docks. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps in the kitchen. At first, I assumed it was my manager sneaking in for a midnight snack, since he sometimes did that. But then, I heard him talking to someone else. I was too scared to look, so I hid under a shelf in the pantry. They kept talking for quite a while, and I could hear them approaching the shelf I was hiding under. Then I started hearing chains dragging metal moans. It sounded exactly like a zombie. Then I heard one of them say, "Come on, Fred, we don't have all night." As the voices got further away, I came out from under the shelf to find a big metal chain laying across the floor. I picked it up, and it was freezing cold. That oven mitt was huge and covered my entire hand. I remember thinking, who the hell was this big guy? I never found out what happened that night. But now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced anything unexplainable while working the night shift? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to hear more scary stories, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you next time.